Hello. I'm going to start off. I know it's been a while, but shit keeps just happening. I guess that's how life is. I'm going to read this phrase. Because this is the basis of all knowledge, is note te ipsum. That means know thyself. And the phrase that it is inscribed upon the temple of Apollo on Mount Parnassus in Greece was this inscription to go with that. It says, "I warn you, whoever you are, O you who wish to probe the arcana of nature, that if you do not find within yourself that which you are looking for, you shall not find it outside either. If you ignore the excellencies of your own house, how do you pretend to find other excellencies? Within you is hidden the treasure of treasure. Know thyself, and you will know the universe and the gods." I've spent a very vast amount of time and energy trying to understand people and the nature of this reality and this world, because it's so fucked up. And I'm lucky that I had a good upbringing. Otherwise, I would have lost my mind and soul a long time ago. But I made this video a while ago. I'm going to talk about some people first to set the stage. I'm not even going to mention his name because he just made a video of me that is just as stupid as any of the other videos that he's made. Calling me a liar for over a few words, like I'm expected to have a perfect fucking memory. I have a TBI. The fact that I remember this shit because it's ingrained upon my fucking soul seems to be a concept that this person doesn't understand. The fact that my soul and heart has been tormented doesn't seem to be a fact that any one of these motherfuckers seem to understand. And yet his dash cam on his fucking car is called Gnosis, as if he knows shit. My God. I can't tell you how disappointed I am in people. How I tried to make a video honoring and letting go of stuff in my heart, which I've actually believed that I've been very successful at. And this guy goes off, and I tried to honor him, including his mistakes and errors. And he goes off and is still a piece of shit. And I don't know why I keep doing this. That's actually one thing that, as soon as I said that, I realized the reason I keep doing it is because I hope that people can change and be better. Because that's what we're here to do. But this is a guy who doesn't believe in free will. So he believes in gnosis, but no free will. He's a slave. Slave of thought and desire and emotion. And though desire be your greatest enemy, oh man, conquer it and be free. Gnosis means knowledge. And we are so separated from ourselves that we don't even seek knowledge. We have people tell us. We don't seek understanding. We think that we know. I run off of instinct and intuition and my heart more than anything. But when I was in the military, I ran off my mind because my heart and my instinct were going bonkers and haywire, telling me everything was wrong and shit was wrong. And I didn't have the courage enough to do anything other than sit there and bitch. I complained, but I still did wrong action. And essentially, that is sacrifice. they sacrificed my soul for their industrial war machine. And then they wonder why this shit comes back at them. Because there is such a thing as karma. And those of you who practice any sort of energy stuff, if you put negative energy out there or harmful energy out there, it's just going to come right back at you. Worse. 3 times 3. I know. I did it. Except I did it on myself. And that was like 3 times 3, 5 times 3. I don't even know where to fucking begin. I'm just sad. I'm just sad because I feel like my whistleblowing that I did was a waste. I was paraded around and used and manipulated worse than it happened in the military because I was wounded and vulnerable. It's like the Good Samaritan. You know, the military comes along, beats the fuck out of me, takes the shit out of my pocket, and leaves me on the road to fucking die. And I believe that the military set me up and tried to kill me when I was in the military. And they failed. I thought I was going to die, or maybe I did, and this is just hell. Could be. But then, as I'm dying and trying to tell people that I was wounded and all these bad things were happening, scavengers came along and picked at my blood and my meat and my bones. And I thought the Norwegians were the Good Samaritans, but they're even worse. They lied. They got me to come to their country to try to convince me to start a new life. And I did everything. I followed the rules, and they lied and manipulated me and broke my heart, tormented me like I was an experiment. The VA put something inside of me when they were supposed to be taking something out. I don't know the details of what's going on. I just understand that I'm being manipulated and used and abused, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of giving my energy to people that are worthless. The entire whistleblower community degraded me and told me that my son didn't matter, that my life didn't matter, that this is for a greater cause. I don't believe that. I don't believe any of that shit. The reason why I don't believe any of that shit is because I once believed in it. I once believed in God, or the Christian God. I believe in God as the absolute. God isn't responsible for our actions. There's an infinite variety of possibilities. We have the free will to choose. It's us. I don't know. I just don't know anymore. My son is the most important thing to me. My heart is the most important thing to me. And my son is cradled right within it. I've given my heart to so many things, and people abuse me and hurt me, and then when I confront them about it, I'm the bad guy. Well, it's your fault for trusting them. Well, it's your fault for trying to do good. Well, it's your fault for this. Like, what type of fucking world are we living in? We don't even understand the value of ourselves. We think our value is how much money we make instead of what we can give to other people. And then I've been trying to give people knowledge and wisdom and help all over the fucking world. And I get people who take and take and take, and then they get what they want, and then they leave. And I was told the other day that it's my fault for trusting these people. No, it's not my fault. I want to trust people. I want people to be better. It's their fault for being absolute fucking filth. It's at their fault for betraying my trust. It's their fault for lying to me. I am really glad that my mother taught me to be extremely self-critical. And I'm really glad that my grandfather taught me that I am way more critical of myself than anyone else ever will be. And the same measure and standards that I hold myself to, I hold others to, because that's what discipline is. That's what discipline and work really is. And I hate this world so much. I hate the people in it. I hate the people that run it, because there's people that fucking lie, and they just sit there and stare, and they like, the lie burns the liar and the silent listener. And when I was being lied against by this asshole who was making these fucking videos, everyone told me to just stay back and be quiet and just ignore it. That's not how this shit works. You have to confront that. Why is it that only one person is standing up there accusing me of lying when I've been in front of the world and verified by many fucking other sources that I don't even know what else to do? I don't know what to do. This guy's desperate for attention, and I tried to give him positive attention, and then he just fucking slaps it back in my fucking face. It's like my son's mother. It's like nothing's ever good enough. It was the same in the military for my supervisor. Nothing was ever good enough. I was always a piece of fucking shit. It didn't matter how many hours I flew or whatever missions I did or what I did in the office. I was always degraded. And I'm fucking sick of it. I'm fucking sick of this world. I'm fucking sick of these people being so terrible to one another. And when someone comes up and stands up to them, they call the other person a bad guy. We have a president who is a piece of fucking shit, who's a racist, who leads a group of people who will, we'll go back to this MAGA fucking hat kid with the stupid smirk. Like, as an adult male who has seen all the fucking shit in this world, the only thing that I saw was a Native American man and a group of students who were mocking him, and this kid with this shit-eating grin face. I didn't know anything else. And then they're like, oh, face police. If you had any sort of measure of self-fucking respect, you would have criticized that kid himself for having that fucking look on his face. Instead, come here. Stop. That was just the dish washing machine. Lay down. Like, why is it so hard? Like, my friends all should understand this. I hold us more accountable than I hold others, because I see that people are fucking stupid. People are stupid. They believe whatever that is that they believe because they desperately want to, or they fear that it is true, so they believe it anyway. We're an emotion that doesn't run on logic, but runs on feelings. And while feelings are great and should be in balance with logic, we shouldn't be as stark and sterile as most people want. People want an authority to tell them, well, according to science, it is this. Well, study science your fucking self. Science is the art of observation. I mean, science should really be like, this is what I see, this is what I can reproduce. Instead, people are manipulating shit and trying to control shit and putting false information out there. And they say that's science. That's not science. It's manipulation. It's lies. It's like, we need to go back to basics. We need to go back to square fucking one and start over. Because I know that this life isn't my first life. but I do know that it's my last life here. Whatever it is that means, I am trying to find out. But if that's the case, then everyone lives multiple lives. And why do we live multiple lives? We live multiple lives so that we can learn these lessons and get better and change. I really want to talk about gnosis and understanding because I had a friend from 7th grade, a transgender friend, kill themselves last week, 2 weeks ago. And because I was dealing with my own shit, I couldn't help him deal with his. I'm going to call him a he because he was an emotionally vulnerable and mentally ill person that those motherfuckers of the LGBTQ community convinced him to go all the way through the fucking stuff. And it didn't change him inside. He still felt like shit. And what he told me was he was just a dude who chopped his dick off. He was a dude who he liked women, so he wanted to become a lesbian. But after the initial thrill wore off for his partners, they were just weirded out by it. And so he ended up living in a home with others who felt the same. At least that's what he's told me. I've not talked to the others. But he told me, he's like, I respect you, Brandon, for living your truth. And there's not just my truth, it's one truth. And it's seated within the hearts of every single living thing on this planet. And we deny it. We deny it, and we try to change it, and we try to do other things, and we wonder why we're miserable. We wonder why we just can't seem to get it right. It's because we don't understand or know this thing that is within us, our hearts. We live in a world where everyone's like, oh, everything happens in the brain. No, it doesn't. We have points on our body that are pools of energy, power. I've learned to use these things for my own health and benefit and the health and benefit of others. And I had my doubts for a very long time, but it works. It works because I've had the results myself. And I think what I told him might have been a little harsh, but he needed to hear it. And I hope that his next life is at his benefit. And I told him that we're not here, like, people who mutilate and change their body because they feel like they need to. I think that's wrong. And it's different than tattoos. Tattoos are marks. Tattoos are stories. Tattoos are history. But to mutilate your body, to change it, to why would anyone want to do that? Our body holds the nervous system and the brain. The brain is just a processing unit. The nervous system is what holds the spirit, according to the occult texts that I've been reading. When we harm ourselves so that we can feel pain, we harm our spirit. What we should be doing is trying to bring our spirit and awareness as totality as we can into these physical forms. And in order to do that, we must know ourselves. We have to have what Alan Watts would call a self-curriculum of the self. And I've spent years making mine. Years. It's really funny because this guy who made these videos hates the fact that I can do backflips. But before I was injured, I could do hundreds of backflips. And he's upset that I did one on video. But you know what? I can do backflips again. And even though I'm still in pain, I worked my way back. I want to be whole and healthy and healed. I'm going to try to push myself as far as I can and as hard as I can. And the military, the government who took my life from me, who tried to kill me, who destroyed my soul and everything that I believe, they will help me do it. It's as simple as that. And then when I do it, I'm going to go and I'm going to help veterans do it themselves and provide them a place, because the VA isn't there to help us. It's there to keep us in line, to make us miserable. Because if our people actually fucking cared about us, they would spare no expense to help heal us. It's just like people who are sick, and we make people suffer. We make people suffer because they can't pay for healthcare. How fucking sick is that? And we have people with billions of fucking dollars that do nothing with themselves, but try to control the markets and try to control the world so they can feel a measure of fucking power in the external because they don't feel it internally. I've suffered. And I'm not a victim. Might be an idiot sometimes. Naive. But I'm not a victim. I have been wronged, but I'm not a victim. And I think that's what people don't understand is when I'm saying that I've been wronged, people are like, oh, you're playing the victim. And no, I've been fucking wrong. And people, these hedge psychology bullshit that people throw at you. Oh, your reaction is just a reflection of yourself. No, when fucking shit is wrong, you need to respond to it. Because I understand that it's wrong. And I'm not sitting there putting a gun in your face telling you. I'm telling you by words. I'm telling you by looking you in the face, because it's a very real and stark thing of what we do in this world has fucking consequences. Beyond just the fucking physical. And if you can't understand that, then the universe will just fucking crush you and move on and throw you into the fires of disillusion because you will not learn your lesson. There's a parable that Christ tells about how the seeds of grain were sown with weeds in the middle of the night by some robbers and thieves. And when the workers went out to go sow the seeds in the field, they didn't realize it until it was too late. They went to the master and said, are we supposed to pull up all these seeds and start over? And the master says, no, we'll let everything grow together. And then when the weeds are, because if we pull out the weeds, they'll pull out the plants. So when the plants are ready to grow, to be harvested, we'll pull out the weeds too. And we'll throw the weeds in the fire. And we're at that point. If I know anything, I know biblical text, fortunately. As much as I've been trying to overwrite it with other things are just saying the same thing when you get right down to it. And the abuse of these sacred scriptures is astounding. And there will be consequences for that too. There will be vast consequences for that. And the suffering of those people that have brought suffering to others because of these manipulations will be for eternity. That's how the system works. But even the greatest sinner can become the greatest saint. I believe that too. And I think that's also why I've been prevented from killing myself, is because had I killed myself, I would be in an immense amount of torment. More than now. Actually, I'm not even really in torment. I'm just sad. I'm sad because it's like I'm just a guy from fucking Montana trying to do the right thing, trying to follow the teachings of my mother and my grandfather, and people are accusing me of lying and having a messianic complex, and It's like, okay, Christians are supposed to be like Christ. Like, that's the idea of being a Christian, is little Christ. So why is it that when I'm not a Christian myself, but I like Christ. I like Buddha. I like Lao Tzu. I like Confucius. I love Krishna. So why is it that these guys are all my teachers? I've read and studied them. Even the authors in like Robert Heinlein and Isaac Asimov and Robert Jordan and Tolkien, like all those, I've learned so many lessons from their stories. Brandon Sanderson's fucking rocking it right now. Jim Butcher, like these guys, they tell beautiful stories that are just as sacred as any of those scriptures because they reflect the human soul. And all these scriptures are telling us is to find that self, to be good. I mean, there's enough pain and sorrow and destruction in this world without us creating more. And we have to know that. We have to understand that. And it's like, how many times do I have to sit there and explain it until people actually get it? My heart's no longer broken. I did something this last blood moon, a ritual, Taoist purification ritual and awakening ritual. And I might have gotten a little more than I bargained for because as much as I've read about all the lore and stuff, it never compares with the experience of finding it. It'll never ever be exactly what you think it is. It's just like military or love or sex or any of that type of stuff. Before you actually experience the thing, it's not. It's just conjecture and theory, fantasy. That's why I have no respect for any veterans or excuse me. Actually, I'm gonna finish that. I don't have any respect for veterans that have the experience and don't talk about it. But I also don't have any respect for people who don't have the experience and criticize those that do. In the story of the Hopi creation myth, it's also the end myth. They say that there's a group of people from Fire Tribe, the Water Tribe, the Air Tribe, and the Earth Tribe, red, yellows, blacks, and whites. They say that there is 144,000 of each of them. And they will have enough. They will look at the world and people will be distracted by the light in their hands as there are spider webs that fly across the sky. There will be starvation, torture, murder, and the authorities will do nothing. And these people will look around and they'll say, I've had a fucking enough. And they will be of all races, religions, creeds, sexual identities, and gender preferences, and they will be called the Rainbow Warriors. We have this thing called the Rainbow Festival that goes on, I guess, every year or whatever. It came here in Montana a few years ago, and when they left trash. And all this shit that people have stolen to identify with, that takes away the power of the true myth when idiots identify themselves with truth and then distort it for their own purposes. And we'll just take the Nazis for example. If we don't if we don't fix the problem with our government, not just Trump and the Republicans, but the idiots in the Democrats and the CIA and the FBI and the local police, If people don't start acting benevolently and justly and honorably, the American flag will be probably a worse symbol than the Nazi swastika, because we have the information and the knowledge right in front of our eyes, and we're repeating the same fucking thing. We're doing the exact same thing: bigotry, hate. We have a government that promotes conflicts all over the world, and when people are running from those conflicts to safer locations, those people are being exploited and used and manipulated and hated. No wonder people hate white people. I mean, if this was like a couple thousand years ago in ancient Egypt, it would be the blacks doing the same thing. So, if everything comes in cycles, we are just so happen to be in the cycle where the whites are the stupid ones making most of the problems in the world. Well, I'm not going to say that, China has done its fair share of polluting, and we've all done something. But right now, the tribe of fire, aka the white people, are burning out of control. But just like the Native Americans teach, this is why I find it funny that people build their houses in forestry lands and then clear cut it and wonder why their fucking shit burns down. Because the fires are there supposed to be there for the good of everything. They get rid of old. It gets rid of all the old. It renews the soil. It causes pine cones and things to open up and spread their seeds. It's the cyclical nature of nature. We don't live with nature. We try to dominate her, and that's gonna fuck everybody. She is eternal. We're temporary. And these people that are trying to find immortality, putting their consciousnesses in machines or robots or trying to find the elixir of life, they're looking for outside sources. Immortality comes from within. Uniting with the eternal is what happens within you. And it's going to happen when you die regardless. But if you want to be your best and highest self now, you might as well seek that here now. It doesn't matter what anyone else does. Everyone is just challenged to who you are. Do you want to be good and just and noble? Then you're going to encounter unjust, dishonorable, and disnoble things. And that's just the way that it works. You want to have patience, you're going to be put in situations where you need to develop patience. You want love, you're going to be put in scenarios where you're not going to get any love. So you have to produce it yourself. And in the whole disillusion and manifestation of the universe, if we are the microcosm to the macrocosm of the universe, if we are created in God's image, then our image that we are created in is the ability to create something from nothing. And if God created all of this from himself or itself out of the void of nothingness, then our ability to create love and joy and peace and patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control comes from that ability. It comes from that divine spark that we have in our reaffirmations every day of our relationship with nature. And that's the idea of gnosis, understanding the cycles that we go through and knowing that at some point we'll arrive as close to the center of ourselves as we possibly can. And nature will still go about her cycles. But instead of trying to dominate her, we can sit there and be at peace with it and be separate from that cycle, but still watch it and observe it and love it. I think about my son's mother all the time. I think about her scent and her taste. So unique. Touch. her eyes, her smile when she's about to be up to something. I always wonder why those sensations are so intense, because they came from my heart. My heart sought it. It wasn't just a brain thing. It was my wounded heart seeking those things of comfort and familiarity so that it can hold on, and everything else in me just wanted to give up. I stood in front of the United Nations, European politicians, American politicians, generals, colonels, everyone from the top to the bottom, trying to tell them what was wrong and trying to fix it. And it seems like no one really actually wants to fix problems. And they just placated me so I would just stop bitching. The whistleblowers, I'm not even sure if any of them were true to me. They manipulated me and tried to funnel me down a certain path, and I should have just, instead of seeking companionship, I should have just done it by myself. But my heart hurt so much that I needed reasons to go on, and I guess that even if those reasons that they gave me were fake, I still went on, and I still succeeded, and I still won. It's like my heart is clean and pure, and my energy is clean. For almost the first time in 13 years, I joined the military. And it's taken so much pain and heartache to crawl back there. I've had to slay my demons and even integrate them into myself. Integrate, because you can't escape what happened. That's the problem, is I tried to escape what happened. I tried to deny that I am capable of being as bad as my enemy, as in a blatant disregard to life, and anyone who is that is my enemy. But I also know that it's given me the right and authority to speak about these things to such a degree that it terrifies everyone. And I'm so intense with it that it scares everyone away. But it's like, I've tried, I guess no one's really going to understand what it's like. I've tried to explain it over and over and over and over and over again. Where the MAGA people, such fucking idiots. In one sentence, this guy said that I knew what I signed up to and I would never be exonerated for my crimes against humanity, as if he knows. I joined the military to become a Siri instructor, and they put me in intelligence. I didn't choose it. I went along with it because I was an idiot. I didn't know what it was. I was like, military intelligence? Asshole recruiter. Oh, you'll be working with James Bond. It's not glamorous at all. It sucks. These guys don't save the world, they destroy it. They're not heroes. They're villains of the worst kind. But I guess I get to be the prime witness. You know, people like me and Snowden and Julian and Reality Winner, we get to be the prime witnesses of this era. Which sucks. It really does suck. It's not a pleasant place to be. But I think what's worse is being someone who sees everything that's going on and doing nothing about it, or harming those that are trying to do anything about it. Those people are cursed for all eternity. I just wish that this world would just be better. I just want my son in a place that I can call my own, away from people, that I can just live the rest of my life in quiet and peaceful contemplation. Instead of every time that I turn on the TV or I walk by a fucking news station and I see all the fucking propaganda bullshit going on and no one's actually trying to understand, they're just trying to win an argument. They're not trying to come to a place of knowledge and understanding. When I look on Twitter, I get on Twitter only when I take a shit, because I feel like Twitter is a way to get rid of psychological, emotional shit and confront that on a very easy level. And it's funny because the MAGA hat people attacked me, and then when I fought back, they reported me for being too hostile to them because I told them that they could go fuck themselves and I hate them. And then they're like, oh, this hostility, it's all on you. No, you're my enemy. I'm really glad that from a very young age, I knew who my enemies were. I'm glad that I was taught wrestling so young. And even though I wasn't super into it when I was growing up, I got way into it when I was an adult. And it taught me good confrontation skills and how to put in that effort. It's just like Bruce Lee says. Bruce Lee says, I don't fear the man who knows 1,000 punches. I fear the man who has practiced one punch 1,000 times. And my grandfather, he's like, pick a move, top, bottom, and neutral, and an alternative. Stick with those. You know, people will know what you're doing and what you're about, and they won't be able to stop you. There's no deception. No, war is deception. No. And if all's fair in love and war, love isn't deception. Love is the opposite of it. So we have to think, if we want to counter war, we don't operate in deception. We operate openly and honestly and justly towards ourselves first, and then towards the world. We must be our own harshest critics. We must, when someone says something to us, even the most grievous thing, we have to be able to hold it even for a second, like the possibility of the truth of it. Because it's only when you look at it under the light of truth that you can discard it as being non-true. And instead of fumbling through the dark, we need to bring all this stuff out to the light. I don't know what else I can do. I've basically got broken, told my story, was driven mad with sorrow and grief, and stop. There's nothing out there except for the cars passing by, dummy. I don't know really what else to do. I've spoken in front of millions of people, and it seems like no one's really doing anything. I've done everything that was in my power. I don't have money. I struggle. Fucking Norway. The United States is allowing Norway to steal $417 a month from my fucking paycheck to give it to a woman who makes 80 grand a year while I make less than 20. I didn't even expect to live this long. I should have just fucking killed myself when I had the chance. But instead, now I am racked with a greater responsibility than telling all you motherfuckers what the truth is about what's happening in the world. I have a son. And he, as well as his mother, are my Ishta Devatas. So I'm going to be the father that I didn't have. My father lived 40 minutes from me my entire life. Still today does. He doesn't give a fuck about me. Neither did my brother or sister on that side. I spent 4 years trying to find them. And it was just a waste. I grew up in a Christian family who I thought that when I would struggle and need help, they would be there for me. But instead, they just sit there in their closets praying for me, not that I'll get better, but that I come back to Christ or their belief system. Stop it. Stop. And they're rich and they have money and they could help me, and they're not going to because they also believe that I'm poor because I'm a sinner or whatever it is that they fucking believe. I don't have friends because everyone that seems to want to come into my life, they want to take from me and use me and not actually be friends in truth, which is something that my son's mother pointed out to me very, very early in our relationship, and I maybe resented it a little bit instead of seeing it for what it was, because I didn't want to go through the same scenario that I did with the church or the military. I wanted to find a group of people that I could trust. And then I come back home to Montana and I start running into people who seem like they wanted to be positive people and changes in this world, but instead they're the same as everyone else. And so I can't say I wipe myself of the responsibility of what happens in this world. I live in it, and this is the world my son lives in. But I'm not going to tolerate any bullshit anymore. And I know I'll never find a lover. I'll never have any more friends. My family will never come back to me. I've lost everything in this life. Everything that I once held of value has been taken from me. And it's not money, it's It's these relationships and people and dreams and hopes. And I'm not going to allow not just my son, but any child to have to go through that. Innocence should be protected and preserved, not abused and exploited. But I am not responsible for what happens in this world anymore. I'm responsible for myself and what I can create and do. And if I am to conquer the world, I will do so with a stick. Because there's this phrase from Manly P. Hall that I really like. He says, "Man must live outwardly his inner convictions. The proof of his sufficiency is not that he conquers the world, but that the world doesn't conquer him. This is his initiation. And it is not that we become gods amongst men, but rather men amongst beasts." Men like Donald Trump and Rick Rynearson are just beasts. People of Norway are just beasts in slavery. It's funny. The most kind and compassionate people that I've actually truly met were Muslims who had suffered and didn't want anyone else to suffer. And those ones that I grieved with in person and still grieve with in spirit. I'm not a Muslim. I don't believe in the Abrahamic faiths. I think that there's too much hate in them. Wrath isn't bad. Wrath at wrongdoers and the unrighteous and evil people, that's okay. But hate is not. There's this story. I think I've told this before, but my memory is pretty much all stories now, trying to find the comparisons and solutions of them for my own life. But there's this one story that I really like. There's a samurai whose master was killed by an assassin. And so his obligation is to hunt down this assassin and kill him to either restore his honor before he kills himself or whatever. But he gets this guy, knocks him to the ground, ties him up, is about to execute him. The guy spits in his face. And he was about to drop his sword out of anger. Like, how dare you? And he lets the man go. Because he realizes that if he would kill that man out of anger, it would be the wrong reason to do it. And I'm going to say there are right reasons to kill people. There are completely right reasons to kill people, just like there are right reasons to fight. And it's the people that do the wrong things and harm others that create these fake laws so that they can protect themselves while they continue destroying people's lives. And these people that are in charge of the government and everything, the corporations, they deserve to be publicly executed. And it's probably going to, unless they can turn themselves around and start giving and be beneficial, then it will be time for people to rise up and actually take them to the streets. And now we have video cameras and everything to watch this. These people should be lined up in front of the White House and with a sword, not a bullet, just one by one, have their throats slit. Because these people have made their life's blood off of the suffering of others. And according to every sacred scripture that I've ever read, and I've read all of them almost, then these are the types of people that are 100% okay to fucking slice off the tree of life and throw into the fires of disillusion, because it's like pruning a plant. If all that energy is going to all this other things and suffering, the human spirit is one thing, though we are one out many from one. If one human being suffers, then we all suffer. And so we have to end suffering. We're not here to suffer. We're here to find it, the cause of it, and fix it. And these people that are in these high places, they perpetuate suffering. They live off of it. They make the human species suffer so that they can get power. And those are the people that should be removed. I don't see anything wrong with that. And people say that I'm crazy for thinking like that. Okay. I'm crazy for thinking that justice should be met. I'm crazy for thinking that we should live in a world of fairness. I'm crazy for thinking that the people who have destroyed people's lives, had people who want to have children and can't because of vaccines or things put inside. I'm not saying vaccines are bad, but I'm actually a pro-vax. But I know that there are some, not all of them are right, and some of these things are put into people and do fucking weird shit. We have the United States government in the 60s or 50s, I think, in the American South, give black populations syphilis to see how it's saying that it's a vaccine to see how it spreads. So these things aren't out of the realm of possibility. The thing that we should recognize is no matter what we can imagine the United States government doing, it's doing something, or any government doing, it's doing something worse. And I should know, because I haven't lied ever about my experiences, but I have underplayed a lot of the shit that's gone on. And I'm not going to anymore. I'm going to tell everyone everything, to the smallest and most minute detail. And that's what I guess I just wanted to address. I just don't know what else to do. I hate television. I'm even starting to hate video games. I just go for endless walks, and I just sit there in contemplation, and I read, and I finally crossed over that ocean of sorrow and made it to the other side. All I can do is just keep going forward and hope that if people don't fix themselves, then nature will do it for them and just wipe them out of existence. Yeah. Have a good Woden's Day.